All right. Welcome, guys, to our Tuesday meeting. We got Nikki, Tammy, Joseph, Patty, Manny, a few more jumping in. Today is October 18th, which is my birthday, as a matter of fact. 44 this year. So how about that? And I wanted to cover a couple of fun topics. One is, you guys see what's happening with Compass? So they came online probably about 5-6 years ago, and they came out with a bang, right? So they got all this money they raised, something like $1.5 billion. And their model was that they were going to be a technology company first, a real estate brokerage second. Well, their model ended up including a lot of excess cash to buy other small brokerages and individual agents that are successful, and they would make them cash offers, huge bonuses. Well, apparently when you buy all of your people at a high cost like the Yankees, right? And the Yankees can afford a loss. Well, this company can't. And now they are literally within a few $100 million left. They use a term, they're running out of runway. And they can't just continue to spend and spend and spend and not sell any real estate. Well, you know, COVID, I'm sure, didn't help with the agents that they brought on. They probably produced less than what they were doing before. And they said the Fed is working against them, all these other excuses that the CEO is saying right now. So it's kind of a fascinating deal that's going on with them. Anyway, so I just had an article, and I'm going to post it on our workplace, but it talks about how Compass is just running out of time. I mean, it literally started, I guess it started in 2017, and it went through $1.7 billion. And they are still upside down at a negative cash flow, and they haven't cut any costs. So it's going to be, you know, an interesting way. In the next few months, they're going to run out of money altogether. And they said that they were the #1 brokerage in the U.S. That was what they were posting. So, you know, for those of you, I know I've had a number of conversations with Eric the last 2 years, and he said that up front that the company can't build a sustainable business on just buying agents. You know, because we can't, it's hard for us. We're in a place where we talk to other agents about opportunities. And for us to compete with a company that's giving them, you know, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 up front is a real hard thing to compete with. Well, they put all their eggs in one basket and they went to a company that's going to collapse. So that's kind of what's happened to a lot of them. So it's kind of fascinating kind of to see it. So if you know anyone at Compass, it might not hurt for you to reach out because they're going to run out of a place to work pretty quick. Anyone else thoughts on this? I know it's kind of high level. You know, it doesn't really do as much for us day to day, but I thought it was kind of fascinating. I just saw that this morning. Okay, my mom mentioned something about you have to do some type of email confirmation when you use the Matrix system, when you're adding in an agent, or I'm sorry, when you're adding in a buyer to kind of watch a market. It asks for them to confirm their email before it allows them to enlist and enroll in and allow for emails to come through to them. You know, it used to just automatically go through. So I know for me, it happened with I only have one client that I had just because I knew they were going to buy today. So I just set them up on a drip, and I've been sending them listings. And man, I don't know if they've confirmed or not, but I know that they'll buy when they're ready to buy. They'll be, you know, hitting my phone pretty hard. So anyone else had feedback or thoughts on that or dealing with it? Or do a lot of you not use Matrix? Manny, do you use Matrix for your leads, your buyers?
Did you say Matrix?
Yes.
Now, when you say, what do you mean by that? The only Matrix that I know is my MLS.
That's it. What's the Matrix?
Yes. As soon as I have a lead, I put them on the portal, and I get notifications as soon as they start looking at houses, so that it helps me to see what they're doing, and I basically keep in touch with them once I know that they're actually hitting the website and getting looking at the listings.
Okay.
And then it's just a matter of setting up appointments to show houses.
Typically, I use Matrix whenever I get the buyers when they're starting to actively look, because I can control the search better. And I always use the concierge system with it. That way, and this isn't for a blanket for all my prospects. These are serious buyers now that's either almost pre-approved or already pre-approved. And then that way I look at every home I send them. I just don't just let it automatically drip. And then if I find a home that's like really hits all their buttons, I'll send that separately and make another note. But what Sean was talking about now is when you send an email to one of your clients, either it's the, the auto email or regular email, you are going to have to make sure they opt in. That was the only kind of kink I saw. And a lot of them went away. All the searches I had, a lot of old ones, but they took all that away.
And I just wanted to add, when I do see or get the proper engagement from a client, when I know that they're interested in a certain house and they want to look at it, another thing that I do is I use the RMR website that comes
RPR.
RPR. Yeah. And I basically send them a in-depth housing report on that house, because some clients, even though they may or may not buy, but when you start sending them that property report, it makes you look better and more professional, because they get this in-depth report with everything, demographics, restaurants, schools.
Manny, is this what you use?
Or
you do it from your phone?
No, I go right on the matrix. And like when you go to the there it's right here, right there, the red, yellow, and blue. The second one.
That's what this is.
Okay, yeah. So I'll just put in an MLS number, run report. Mine looks a little bit different. That's why I said that. And once you type in an MLS number or the actual address, it just pops that house right up, and it's got school ratings. It's really nice. And then I just put the contact's email, send it to them, and they get all there it is right there. They get all the information that you could probably want as a buyer, because a lot of these buyers, they're always asking those questions. Oh, what is the school district like? What's this like? What's the neighborhood quality like? There's all kinds of factoids on that once you send that to a client, it pretty much answers all the questions they have.
So I've got this property in this neighborhood. It's sitting. I've gotten like 2 showings in 2 weeks, and I'm at 455 right now. So it says I should be floating somewhere around 426, 590. It's a huge house, 3,800 square foot, but most of the houses in the neighborhood are like 1,500 square foot. So I'm really an awkward kind of place. This is kind of fascinating. So how would you run a report? You hit create CMA or view details? What would you create?
There's got to be something there.
But wouldn't that raise a question if they get it and they're like, well, it's listed at 455, but the value is only 426. Why would I pay 455? Would that just bring up more questions at that point?
This is for me. I've got the seller.
Isn't there an option up there that says create report? Because on mine there it is right there. There it is. Yeah, and you can switch that where it'll have your picture, and and if you scroll to the bottom, there may be a thing there where it says enter recipient's email. There it is, I think.
It's got a lot of details. So there, you can personalize the report.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail here. Delivery method, send it right to them. Yeah, I like it. I mean, I wouldn't send them this much information. But I can break it down and do something simple. Yeah, I like it. I think I'm going to create that and send it. I haven't dived much into RPR. but I know that there's some good quality information. Like I get now, every week I get somebody asking me about selling their house, and this would be kind of a clever way to at least get me started with them instead of me having to go run some comps and give them some ranges. I could give this to them and let them see where the market's landing them today. I've got a real nice new build in Irving that I need to run this thing on, and she's ready to sell now.
You got
So-
a new build in Irving?
It's 2019. So there's like almost everyone just bought their house in 19. So like there's no real market for sale.
I
You
just
know.
started looking with a new client in Irving. They like Irving, so and I showed them both new builds and pre-owns that they were interested in. What do you think it's going to be listed at? Price?
Let me see. I gave her a rough range. You know what? Let me do this. I know where she's at. It's Marie. Her range right now is 600 to 620.
Okay.
If she had listed in June, it would have been 640 plus. So, just waiting this 5 months, we've lost 40,000 easily. I would say 600 is probably about where I would want to list. She's 2859 square foot. She's one of the biggest homes in that particular neighborhood. And she just bought it 2019, but she's ready to move. They had some stuff happen. So very cool. I like it. Anyone else use RPR? Have you used it, Joseph? All right.
I'm on mute. Sorry, Sean. No, I have not used it, but I would like to. I saw what you are demoing there. Is that directly from the matrix? You just go in, click. I missed that part where you're going.
Yeah.
In.
So when you get into login, this page.
Yeah.
Right here.
Okay. Yeah. That's a brand new feature? Or it's been there for a while.
They also, no, it's been around for a long time, but they've upgraded the RPR system. They also have an app for it as well. You can do this from your phone. For you guys that travel and stuff, RPR has real good. That I would look at the MLS, the new MLS Go or whatever it's called, that MLS Touch. I would look at that app first because they're combining Matrix with some RPR benefits built into it. That might be a real good option to be able to deliver some really good reports from your phone. MLS Touch.
Download that now.
So RPR does have an app though you can use as well. It's just clunky to be like driving around showing and stuff. But this kind of stuff you can probably do from your phone and not have to be in front of a computer to do it. Just, select the type of report and stuff. So it's kind of a clever option for you.
MLS Touch can be connected to MetroText as well.
Yeah, we've got it. I've got it. It works. And you don't, my mom was talking about having to get the end buyer to log in and approve email and stuff. It'll actually allow you to text directly to them and they don't have to have an account to access it. So you can text them listings. They don't have to like log into something to open listings. They can see it directly from the text you send them. So MLS Touch is a really clever app to be able to communicate and connect and you be the one holding the information. It's not just an open app for them just to see information. They can connect with anybody. All right, I wanted to take this time to remind you guys about try to connect with each other on Facebook and LinkedIn and different things like that. Like and comment on each other's social media posts. Just click it, like it, make a comment. It creates additional traffic for all of us. I've went ahead and posted my 3. I've got LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. I will be ongoing creating quite a bit of good content that you guys can share and use. It could be tips for buyers, it could be tips on sellers. It's going to be really good live conversation, things that you guys can be able to connect with. We're doing 1 to 2 every week. I'm doing podcasts and we're pulling out, good quality content for you guys to take advantage of. Follow me on those. It's also going to be on Instagram. I'm just now starting to build that. I've been doing this for about 5 or 6 weeks, and we've got, probably a good 7 or 8 hours worth of stuff already. So we're going to pull out all the good tidbits, and I'm going to be doing this ongoing. So it's always going to be constantly being updated. But I put my links in there.
Are you under TruWest on Instagram?
Yes. So I'm going to be doing, so that's the latest thing for me. I'm going to be doing some shorts, just a tip, but I'll talk for a minute, and then he'll make it look good and put some different things to it to make it kind of clean it up. But a lot of it's just going to be me just talking, and it probably won't have backgrounds. It'll just be me sharing a tip to help someone in the market. And some of them are going to be for agents to benefit from specifically, so it's for your own benefit as well. If you guys, any of you doing Instagram?
I do.
Okay. Can you post your handle in the chat?
Yes, I think.
If you guys do Instagram, post your handles in the chat. Thank you, Joseph. And then that way we can start connecting with each other there as well. All right, it's got Fernando, Joseph. And then be sure to connect with TruWest for any of these at the same time. I'll get on there. Do you have one, Manny or Patty? You gotta find it. You don't know what it is?
I don't have one. I guess I need to start one.
Only if you want to be rich.
That's correct.
We can hide, but nobody knows about you. Let's put you out there. You're selling, you're moving, staging, all kinds of stuff. What you got, Manny?
I just spelled the first one wrong. The second one that has the double N is correct.
All right. So one of it is a lot of Travasos, and one of it's just one Manny. Okay, got it.
Just MANNY. NN, not one N, two N's. That's the right one.
Nikki, you on Instagram?
Yes, but I don't do a lot with it. Not yet.
All right. Well, connect with us. Do something with it. All right.
I like doing on Instagram every now and then. I like doing these reels, and I select a certain song. Usually I like doing smooth jazz. So I just try to show the house. It can be for, I do it mostly for listings that I would like to sell, open houses that I usually do. I do reels for that, and they come out kind of nice.
Do you like smooth jazz, or you just like the way it sounds? Do you actually know artists?
Yeah, I actually do know a lot of smooth jazz artists. The only thing is, there's not much to choose from like, it's like they got this generic list of music you can choose from. Some of it's okay, but I like to use music that's usually like got smooth jazz, because it kind of just gives a more relaxed type of atmosphere for the person who starts to look at it. And I get all kinds of people who I don't even know liking this stuff. It's kind of weird, but it just happens.
Well, if you need smooth jazz artists, I know a lot of them.
Oh yeah, I know. I listen to quite a bit of that, like Rick Braun, Boney James.
There you go.
Brian Culbertson,
Yep.
just to name a few.
I've seen Peter White, Mindy Aver,
Richard Elliott.
Kenny Dolfer.
Yep.
Talk about this. Tim Bowman. I love it.
Okay.
Paul Hardcastle. Paul Hardcastle is my favorite,
Yep.
but I know he's kind of a little bit more eclectic. Anyway, we talk about smooth jazz on another video, because I'm sure everybody else just went to sleep. All right. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is life cycle of the client. So we talked about where we are in the phase. Right now, we're under contract. That's the phase that we're at right now. And these are just good tips to help you at this point in this phase. I'm going to give you a few, and then you guys think about things that you do in your business, on every contract that you line up. I know Fernando should benefit from this. He's got a couple of them. I gave you a shout out earlier, Fernando, because you've gotten a couple of deals under contract. I guess you've gotten a lot and a house. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. I have two. I'm about to have another. Hopefully everything goes right.
I love it. That's fantastic. So we're talking right now, what do we do when we go under contract? What's some special things that make us set apart? Really benefit the client. People remember us, uh, and really just help set up clients for success. If you think about, actually before I give you some, let's have you guys put some out there. What do you do after we've gone under contract to help? Joseph, you just had this guy go through a couple of them. You've already done a few contracts, and you hadn't even been with us that long. You're already killing it. What's something you do, Joseph, that you think when you go under contract, what's like the first time we want to have this with our clients? Where do you add value?
First conversation I usually like to have with them is just expectations on inspection, because I don't want the inspection to throw them off at any point in time. There's so many things that get handed out in that book or pamphlet that inspectors give to your client. And it's good to have automatic expectations of what they are going to see and what they may see in other houses if they were to back out of that house as well. So that's the first conversation I have.
Okay. Setting the proper expectation and mindset when you're interacting with your client and about to go into that inspection. What's some language you use?
I don't know if I have specific language, but like this one, for instance, that we're doing this week, the lady that I'm under contract with, she's got a lot of questions about the electrical, different things like that. It's an older home. It's in the HEB district. There's a lot of older homes that are built in the North Richland Hills district, some built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. This one's built in, I think, 1968. So some of the electrical is just all over the place. For instance, they don't have any outlets inside the bathroom when they did the remodel. So maybe just having a conversation with that person saying, hey, this is an older home. When they did a remodel, they probably didn't know what they were doing, or maybe they did kind of just plan that to be pushed out to a certain area where they wanted the outlets to be. But I don't really have any specific language. I just kind of talk through it with them, be like, hey, it's an older home. They did a remodel on it and they put things where they wanted it to be at, so.
I think this is a critical time in that with home buyers. A lot of us are dealing with new home buyers. People have never gone through this process before, or maybe it's a second home. Is there a language you guys use when you have that conversation about the inspection? Anyone else have thoughts? You guys all go through this. I mean, this is a
I
common.
do it as we look at houses. So like when we're looking at houses, if it's an older house, I let them know, okay, well, this is an older house. So just be mindful of things that won't be present in a newer home, like lead-based paint, depending on the year. I also tell them about galvanized piping and the electrical and stuff like that. So I do it as we see houses. I set that expectation as we're looking at houses and choosing houses to look at.
Yeah, I do the same thing, Nikki, as we go. I kind of point out things and then they start asking me questions from there.
Yeah, things
Right.
that are going to obviously come up in the inspection that they're going to get flagged.
Right. And I just let them know these aren't deal breakers, but these are things to be mindful of.
I used to always have this reactive, this is years back, I would have a reactive response to most of the stuff. I'd just say, well, the next step is inspection. They're going to find us and give us a list of things that are of concern. We're going to go through that and we're going to negotiate that and work with the seller. But I was listening to Fred and his conversation with buyers, and he would share this at my meetings, this years back. And he would say up front, hey, this is an old house and they're going to tell you it's going to fall into the earth and everything's wrong with it. I want you to know that up front, right? I mean, he just has to kind of have this exaggerated way of thinking, like expect to find a lot of problems. What we're going to focus on is beyond the maintenance, beyond the inexpensive options. We're going to look at critical things and safety items, right? That's the kind of thinking that we need to be focused on. And then we want to make sure we have a peace of mind moving forward out of this. At the end of the day, inspections are all about getting peace of mind. If we can't get that buyer peace of mind, we're not moving forward. Did you have something, Patty? Okay. Yeah, maybe not. So
I
that,
also prep them for inspection. I let them know, like, once we're under contract, because I don't, not to sound rude, but I don't give away the cow, like, right when we go see a house. I prep them. I say, okay, well, this is step number 1. We can't do step 6 if we haven't done 1 through 5. So that's down the line, and I'll tell you about that when we get there. But the inspection, just understand that that's their job. They want to find every little thing that is wrong with the house. So if a light bulb is burnt out, they're not going to take the time to go find another light bulb to screw it in to see if it's going to work or not. They're just going to say, oh, might need a electrical professional to come out. So don't be scared about the inspection. I've seen inspection reports as little as 20 pages and as high as 77 pages. So it is their job to find everything. So I prep them.
you guys give thought to who does the inspection? I mean, I hope by this time you guys do.
Yes, I give them 7 or 8.
I think that's a data dump. It
I
keeps you
know,
off,
but
it
it's
keeps you
like-
off of liability. I get it, but I really like to direct them a little bit more, because one of those guys is going to tell them, is going to give them a 100-page report and feel good about himself, and that buyer will never buy a house from that inspector. You know, I try to curb where we're going and make sure we get peace of mind. At the same time, we don't assume we're going to find every crack in the house and make the house look like it's going to fall apart. I saw what you posted, Manny. What do you got?
I just put down a link that I use, especially with, I mean, it can be with every buyer. It doesn't matter if it's first time or second or third, because a lot of these people don't remember everything. But that file I just put there, it's called the home buying process. I got that from Ashley Olson when I was at Remax at the time, for a short little period of time that I was there. Yeah, that's it. That is very helpful, especially with people who have no idea what is involved with the home buying process. And I pretty much on the first initial meeting give this file to them. And I explain that in order for us to go looking at homes, we need to get past step 2. Once you have your approval letter, now you can shop for a house. And then there's all kinds of stuff to help them along the way. Once we get past the first step and we have an offer written and executed. I think it's a good file, and I just give it to everybody I meet.
Okay, awesome. So at any phase under contract, this is going to come up. There's an opportunity for us to have an education with the buyer. I mean, still with the appraisal, right? So we got to, I like to look at and give, anytime you can stay ahead of your client, it's better for you. Like if we predict that our value of our home is in a range that might be outside of the appraisal range, let's let them know up front so we can have a mindset and be prepared for resolution. If we don't think that's an issue, then we don't have to bring it up and create an issue. But, you know, I always like to stay ahead of them even before I have to give a response to, you know, something negative. So the appraisal is another opportunity for us to have, you may have a conversation, you may just let it flow through. You know, right now, appraisals are probably not going to be a big issue because the market was really hot, really expensive, and a lot of our prices have come down, and appraisers are easily able to substantiate the price of what we have now, because they generally don't go down, they generally go up or stay level, you know. So that's a good thing. Appraisals are probably not a big issue, but that's something you might have to have a conversation about. While you're doing what you do, you still have a stack of requirements the lender has for the buyer to achieve. I would do what I can on our side to nudge them to get those documents in sooner than later, because sometimes lenders are not strong, and I've dealt with a number of them that are not. They don't press, they don't ask questions, they don't move things forward until we're like 2 weeks before closing, and they don't have all the docs they have to even submit for the initial underwriting. You know, so it's good for you on your side to say, hey, have you got every document the lender is required to them in order, and you can be asking them that during the option period. You know, if it looks like we're moving forward, we're going to have a clear deal, because we've only got about a week of time to get all those documents in order for them to at least get it through an initial and right path. Because they will have objections, right? They're going to have, they're going to bounce back with items that they still need to meet in order to move forward. Another thing I prepare buyers for is close dates. If I believe I like to look at it from kind of a high level and say, you know, based on what I'm seeing, I feel like we're probably about 90% on pace to hit close date. You know, just based on my experience, I share that a lot of times throughout the process. And, you know, if I feel like we're not, then I tell them up front, we're likely not going to hit this close date. You know, and I do the same thing on the other side too. I call the listing agent, you know, weeks in advance and say, hey, I'm already predicting, you know, if I put my foot on the gas, we are still not going to hit this close date, no matter how mean and I am to everybody in the transaction. We're just not going to. So I need to let you guys know that up front. I do that with anybody in the party, because it is very frustrating to not hit that close date and not get any type of warning. That just compounds the problem. I don't know if many of you have gone through some of these missed close date opportunities, but man, it's generally everybody's mad. Seller expected to get their money, buyer wanted to move in. I mean, everything is just chaotic because it's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal in anybody's life, you know, moving. But having that kind of going all over the place is very frustrating. Any thoughts on close dates or lender requirements or appraisals?
Gotta have a lot of patience.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. I know you and I are doing one together, and it's stuff out of our control. I mean, we just have to.
And that's
Good time.
exactly what I told Joe. And well, I don't know if I should be saying their name, but that's what I told my clients. It's kind of tough because it just doesn't affect them. It affects you also, because you're going through the same emotions pretty much that they are, except I think they're going through it in a more intense way because obviously it's their house.
Sure. Always have a next step in the process. I don't know how many times I preached that for you guys. You know, I've kind of added to what they shared at the Icon meeting. You know, one of them was have a systemized approach, always, you know, using that map that Manny has. I know I've seen Tammy have things that she posts in Facebook on, you know, the whole process chain or whatever, what the next step is. And some of them are real simple and some of them have more detail, but showing them where they are in the process really helps people have if you ever like gone somewhere, you know, for me, I know the area well. I don't really get lost in this area generally. But if you're in a new place, a new area, and someone says, hey, go meet us over there, and you don't have a map or anything, you're like lost. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where we're going. And he just says, well, you just go down the street and take a left, you know, but you've never experienced it yet. So you don't really know, well, how far down the street, what's it going to look like? You know, that's what people feel like when they're going through this. Like, okay, it's kind of nebulous. All right, we did the inspection and we're good. So now what? Now what do we do? You know, always have that next step in the conversation when you're talking with your client. Always, you know, say, hey, okay, well, the next part now is we're going to be looking at getting appraisal ordered, and then you know, start talking to moving companies, and then start getting ourselves all the documents to the lender. All these steps we're going to kind of address, and having that roadmap really helps them. And anytime there's a problem that comes up, just be ready for a next step. I mean, just it really helps buyers feel at ease and comfortable. Waiting is also on that step too. And sometimes once you've checked every box on the list, it just may be you don't need to do anything. Just relax. You know, we're going to be a week. Probably nothing's going to happen for the next week. You know, that's certainly a possibility. Follow up on all requests required of the buyer and consequences if not delivered, right? That has to go back to the lender, you know, asking for certain documents or needing something signed by the buyer. And I've had this happen where they just don't sign the document. And I say, I tell you what, if you don't sign it, this is a realistic outcome and it's not going to be good for you. You know, make sure they understand, you know, documents and things that are any step that they need to have. Or if they don't get their taxes to the lender in time, we're not going to get ourselves a pre-approval. And if we don't get ourselves approval, then we're not going to hit close date. And if we don't hit close date, the seller is in their right to fight us for earnest money, right? These are the conversations you have to have with, you know, with any of the buyers we're working with, or even sellers if you're on that side. consider reaching out a couple times a week, all the way to closing, just staying in touch. Even my new build that I just closed Friday, there's a whole lot of time in new builds that you're not doing much, especially if they're using the new build lender, because they're already all connected. Title's already connected. We're just kind of a third party, and they're not using our people. So there's limited conversations and things happening for us, but stay connected anywhere that you can. And I did, I try to say, hey, here's the next step. Your house is going to be in shambles. If you show up today, wait until the day they tell you to go. And they didn't. They showed up the weekend before. We were going to have a walkthrough on Wednesday, and they about lost their mind. And I'm like, they're not ready for you to walk that property. You chose to go early, but that's that part of that conversation, and everything got taken care of and they're happy today. But, having someone on their side kind of walk them through and give them some peace of mind about how we're going to get this thing done. And, recourse, if the seller or if the builder doesn't accomplish the things they said they do, we have some recourse in order to make it right. Someone was suggesting text the buyers an enthusiastic video when contract is accepted. Anybody ever send like a video message of themselves to their client just to say something? It could be,
Yep.
Hey, congratulations. Go ahead, Nikki.
So I usually do it in the prospecting stage. If my clients, if I don't see them at closing, then yeah, I'll say congratulations and stuff like that. But it's usually during the prospecting phase, because whenever I'm calling or texting, people think I'm a robot. And like, I'll get these funky messages that say stop or whatever. And then I'll send them a video message just saying hi, letting you know that I'm actually a real person. I am a human. I'm not a robot.
In the prospecting phase, if they don't know you, then certainly that's their impression, unless you do send a video. I get that. But what if you did that in the prospect of working with them as clients, and we're sitting here under contract? I could call them and walk them through it and say, hey, you're under contract, congratulations. I've already told them up front we're doing an inspection, so I don't have to have a phone call to tell them that. Maybe instead I say, hey, congratulations. This is, one of the hardest steps in the entire process of just winning a home, and you guys were able to successfully make it happen. I just want to tell you, congratulations is a big step. I'm super excited for you. Something along those lines. Or, hey, appraisal came back. It came back on value. Just want to tell you what that means, in 20, 30 seconds, right? It's just another way to stay in front of them. And some of it, for me, I have phone conversation. Others, I haven't done it this way. I haven't, but I have certain people that try to stay in front of me by sending me videos, and it is effective. I'm still not going to use a lot of them, but it's still effective, and I still remember them, and I remember what they said, and I remember what they did. So doing the video thing is a great way to be memorable. In the event they do have a decision-making process, they're going to use you or not, or whatever your experience was. But being there all the way through, doing videos, can be a great way for them to remember you. Be present for the last hour of the inspection. For those of you, especially with new buyers, they just get freaked out, right? Oh my gosh, this house is 1950, and they said the electrical and the plumbing, and it needs all these stuff. Keep in mind, I always tell them things like this. Keep in mind, this house hasn't been sitting vacant for 20 years. You got people living there. And you would be hard pressed to believe they live there and they couldn't use their plumbing or electricity, right? So, there are things that may not work. And in the high level is that generally everything can be taken care of. It just takes some money, and we can get it addressed and taken care of. It may take more money than we expected. It may take less, but everything can be made whole, So that's something that there is a resolution point that we can make you feel good about moving forward. Cookies after going under contract, moving kit after appraisal, sometimes minor gifts throughout the process can kind of make that whole thing more experience even better as well. These are easy ways for you guys to make that kind of impression on your clients that they'll remember. I know James was on a couple weeks ago, and he said, I make sure my clients remember me because I'm very impressionable, or I make a big impression on them. I don't know the language you use, James, but it was something along those lines. Well, go ahead, say kind of what you were saying.
I just make it a memorable experience.
And it's not just because you're good looking. There's got to be something else, James. Come on now.
I'll work on those. Good aging in water. No, I just try and make it a good experience for them. I don't do video or send them anything like that. I just, try and be personal with them and make them feel comfortable working with me. Same goes for them.
Is it like empathy? Are you trying to connect that way, or just find ways that you guys have things in common?
I like to listen. I use a very unique icebreaker. So I try and hear, things about them. For instance, there was a Zillow lead at one time, and they had the A on the back of their vehicle, and I thought it was for Alabama because they suck. But sorry, no offense. It's just my personal opinion. But it was actually for Atlanta Braves. So I used that in a way of with the whole Globetrotter icebreaker. But it turned out that the buyer, he coached one of my guys. So we had that just, strengthened the connection. So I'd like to listen to see, I like to hear about places that they're coming from or things that they've done, especially with travel, because that makes it a little bit easier for me to break the ice, and then I can throw in, just something that I've done.
I like it. Making connections certainly makes it easier to, be able to get them to trust you and have a, look at representing them. I love it. Anyone else have any last minute comments on getting them under contract, special things you do, making connections, giving them peace of mind about the experience, having them just remember you through, because eventually they're going to close on the house. And a lot of you assume, well, I sold them a home. Certainly when they go to sell the house, they're going to call me, but I hate to tell you, the statistics say they won't, because they'll forget about you after a few years. That's what the statistics tell you. So what can you do to change that, is kind of the way I want you to think about it.
It's funny you say this, because I posted something yesterday on my Facebook Realtor page. It's very simple little snapshot of fiduciary. It's just a definition, but it's got a little picture of like a female realtor in a paragraph describing what fiduciary means. And I usually always try to help people in every way I can where they don't have an idea of what the whole thing is about, how every step goes. I actually enjoy, and they can see that I have a passion for explaining exactly what the first steps are once they get under contract. So, and it's just something that comes out naturally. Once I start talking to people, they can see like, wow, this guy's really passionate about what he does. And it's just me being myself.
What do you got, James?
I like to just be simple. I get paid to open doors. That's what I do. I don't sell a house, I sell motivation. That's how I look at it. Because the house is the house. And I can't tell you what to do with your money. I just got to make sure that you close, because it can be frustrating at times. And then sometimes it can be easy. So I just want them to understand, like, I'm not against you. It may be difficult. I have your back, whether it's good or bad, and making sure that they know that they can trust me with one of the biggest financial decisions of their life. And even after we close, I am now trying to get better with following up with past clients, or even trying to send them. I'm gonna start trying this some new marketing thing that I was telling you about with like these magazines that are personal to them and just trying to do different things to help them know, or to let them know that I'm not going away. I'm not a bank. I'm not Capital One or Chase or anything like that, where you're just a transaction and file number to me.
Got it. I like it. So you're paid to open doors, not sell
I'm
houses.
paid to open doors and play music. That's it.
Very nice. I saw, who asked that? Joseph was asking about links. It's a good question. I think I'm going to bring it up next week, but I'll tell you the quick thing for me. The high level is that if I could get a Zillow review and a Google review, and I'll pull it up and I'll show you kind of my back, the way I see it, because I think those are the two fastest way to get connections and responses. Eventually I like to move away from Zillow. I think like most of us would like to, but Google is the generic, everybody can look me up that way. And then Zillow for creating a higher probability of connections with the cold clients for you guys. I mean, it's not even for me. I don't get any leads on Zillow. So anyway, that would be the high level. And then there's ways that you send it out and when to send it out. I'm going to kind of go through that process. I think I'll do that next week. It's an easy one I can go through. All right, any agent scenarios? I'd actually want to bring up the one for Joseph. So he had one where the client went under contract. They subsequently terminated. We terminated within our window to do it. And the agent decided to fight during the option period, created a problem, said that they're not going to assign because it costs her seller money. And, and that's part of the process, but it was still during the option period. And then she told the title company the wrong information on the effective dates. And the title company took her side without even verifying it. It was her title company. Very strange deal. I've not seen, so much incompetence and just lack of commitment to taking care of the right way. I mean, TDI and Trek should have easily gotten involved in this deal. They were not taking care of the consumer or the general public. So title had the wrong date, was taking the side of the listing agent. Listing agent has said, well, it cost my seller money, so we're not signing, and then try to play a game on when it got signed and when it got sent over. And then I told Joseph, I said, call their broker. Let's start there, because I think we can resolve it cleaner, faster, easier without, getting into TDI and everything else. And the broker immediately said, well, it's during the option period. It was an open close deal, and the broker had to step in place of the agent in order to secure this thing and move it forward. You want to share some thoughts on that, Joseph?
Yeah, once I reached out to the broker, it seemed like it was going to be a pretty smooth transaction. After that, they were basically saying what Sean said. We agree with you. It was in the option period. You have the ability to back out. Well, after that happened, I include them on the email thread where they were basically denying us the earnest money and the termination of contract, and the broker never responded, did not follow through with their word. So I did have to get TREC involved and actually filed a grievance with TREC and NAR, and they got what they call an ombudsman involved. So instead of going to mediation, we went to this person. They gave me a phone call on Friday around like 7 p.m. She was like, hey, give me the full scenario. What happened? I was like, it's pretty basic. We're in an option period. We, purchased the option period for 6 business days. And I told her, I was like, we backed out on the 5th day within our respected time frame and requested the release of earnest money and termination of the contract. She said, okay, perfectly fine. Is that the whole story? I said, yeah. The only thing that I'd like to add to it is that the other listing agent is refusing to give our release of earnest money because we caused them emotional distress. And I put that in quotation marks because they sent that in an email to me and the title company and the lender. And then screenshotted text that I had sent to them about how we were negotiating, the different parts of the contract. I guess they were very frustrated that one of the negotiation tactics, or not tactics, but just things that we were discussing, was that we need to replace an AC unit. And I said, hey, my buyer can't move forward without you given us a total, my buyer wanted $10,000 for the total cost to replace the AC unit. I said, okay, we're not moving forward with that $10,000. So I got them to do that. They came off the offer price, $10,000. And once they did that, my buyer found some other things that she didn't want to go through with. So she was just like, hey, we'll just back out completely. So I guess after they had come down and realized that they were going to give us that $10,000 off, they still felt kind of butthurt about it. And they're like, hey, we did what you wanted us to do, and then you still didn't buy the house. I was like, yeah, but there's other things that we're factoring in as well that need to be taken care of. So anyway, that's an update on that, Sean. Because
Sure, there's a lot of details that kind of go off the track, right? We can negotiate anything and everything we want to negotiate. It doesn't matter, right? And I told Joseph, I don't care if y'all asked for $50,000 off, and they said yes. You got an unrestricted right to terminate during that option period. That's why it's so critical to try to get that thing waived if you're on the listing side, which I am. And I just went under this with one agent, and I said, hey, you guys, we agreed right away to every repair they asked for, we'll still take care of it. All I'm asking is to go back to the buyer and initial unrestricted right to terminate. I want you to remove the option period. We're agreeing to everything right away. And they dragged it on for 3 more days. And then they ended up moving forward. And they never signed the repair amendment. They never signed it. So I'm like, I don't have to do anything. I mean, buyer agents, follow up with your business. I mean, follow up with it. Now I'm going to take care of it because I know I'm going to do the right thing anyway, but it's just like, I'll take away your leverage if you're not going to play by the rules and play smart, but it's just funny that it comes up. What were you going to say, Joseph?
No, I just got to say I got to jump, but I will mention one other thing that was kind of news to me. And obviously I'm still a baby agent, so I'm learning these things as I go. But the ombudsman told me that if you are not a licensed attorney in the state of Texas, you cannot list business days on your contract as an option period. So she told me that behind the scenes and said if they wanted to, they could take us to mediation and try and fight that, considering I'm not an attorney. So just future reference for all you guys that do that. She said she sees a lot of agents that list business days on a contract as an option period and ends up getting them in trouble. I was like, okay, good to know. I will not put business days on any other contract.
It's a legal strict position, and I've had this come up before, whether or not we can use it, the business days. I'm leaving it to you. I like it because I think it's pretty clear for both parties that are involved how we're going to move through this. But if you want to be specific, we're signing today. Okay, well then I'll put 6 days so we end on a Friday. I don't want to be ending this thing on a Saturday or Sunday. What are you thinking, James? Are you responding to this, or do you use that, or what?
Man, NAR and everybody, they are the worst. And this just the absolute worst. So
They love throwing if you're not an attorney, you can't do this, can't do that.
Yeah.
I've heard it too, and I've heard them say the same thing. Don't use business days because of because the okay, what about holidays? What about, I mean, they start kind of making it more complicated, but I still use it anyway. And I tell you guys, feel free to use it because I think we're going to be fine, but that's their side of it. And the chances of getting to that point and landing on a listing agent that gets really vindictive about it is usually pretty slim. I mean, that's up to you.
Yeah.
Very good. I like it. I like all that. Anyone else have a scenario they want to throw out?
I got a couple. It's we'll probably have to save that one for next week, but I can give you an idea. Of course, it's Louisiana, so it's a nightmare. But it is involving it really is two sellers. One has a listing agreement. They are trying to go around me. The buyer is trying to go around me, who is an investor, to speak with the seller. And they are trying to do a lease to purchase to cover the payoff, cover the taxes. And the seller would then try and come to the closing table with the penalties. And there still would be a commission. So he's basically coming to the closing table with nothing. So buyer is trying to communicate with the seller with knowing that he is represented and trying to cut me out the deal. So that's one that's very interesting that I'm going to.
Is it off market or through MLS?
Yeah, that's the one that I told you about a while back.
Is this the one that you asked me about pricing and then I gave you a generic kind of scenario that we could buy it? Is that one?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
So you
But
got it
it was a
listed.
lot of things that came up after that. We didn't know, he didn't disclose that he was 6 or 7 months behind on his mortgage. So that added on to the payoff. He's just a very irresponsible seller, I would say. But now they're trying to work something out where I am not involved, or they're, that works out, that benefits them. And so I even tried to make a deal and say, like, look, I probably wouldn't make as much. I'm trying to work with the seller as much as I can. So if you guys come in and renovate and get the house prepared, then, I'm happy to list it, but they are starting to become silent. So got to figure out what to do next with that. But
I know I've mentioned this before, money generally fixes almost everything. Is there any cash available on the payoff to cover all of this, or they just don't have anything left?
You talking about the seller?
Yeah.
The seller has no money at all. The way that I see it, there's $15,000 in tax lien. Then there's the payoff, which I think is now probably up to $200K. And then not to mention what the penalties are going to be. So I would only expect that it's probably going to be closer to around 225-ish.
What's that sales price? What's the sales price on it?
Sales price should be was 250.
Okay. I mean, is there only one side of commission?
Yeah, right now.
But I mean, you have plenty of room to make this happen. I mean,
But I know it can happen. It's the buyer, the investor. They are trying not to do that. So they've already tried to, find ways to get in touch with the seller and communicate with them as much as they can. And it's very tense right now because I'm not really sure what to do with this.
Yeah. Like you can't talk to the seller because now they feel like, well, and I'm getting a different offer from the guy directly, and I can split the money with him, 3,700 feet.
So it's a lot of it. I'm being, I'm just kind of watching from afar because I do have the listing agreement. So at the end of the day, that I didn't force him to sign anything. It went straight to you. You signed it.
I feel like, what if they gave you, I don't know, some number and just said, here, can you go away and I'll work it out with him directly and I don't have any obligation to the transaction? That might be a cleaner way to get out of it too.
I'll offer that. But the seller is just,
they're not communicating, they're not cooperative.
Well, the seller doesn't have money at all. They're actually trying to borrow.
If you can get this to closing, we can get it done. But why do they need to borrow anything? They still have 10, 15,000 available that, cash in proceeds.
Yeah, he doesn't have any money in his account. To my knowledge, he is borrowing money from other people, other friends now.
As long as they get to closing, he has, but he has proceeds. I mean, he doesn't he can close. He can close. He has proceeds to cover the closing. That's all I need. If I can do that, then I can get to closing as long as the buyer can move forward. If the buyer needs $5,000 off to close it, he can buy it at 245, still pay you a commission and still cover all these expenses.
Yeah. Well, their offer is 214. That's where there's a big difference.
Oh, I thought you said 250.
That's what the sales price is. The list price, I'm sorry. List price is 250. They offer 214.
Well, he can't do 214.
I know. And that's what makes it
then move on.
A lot more difficult. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, then move on. I mean, you can't sell the house. I mean, the seller's not going to show up with $20,000, including paying you. He'd be working against himself. I don't think the house is worth that much more than that. I would probably try to get 235, 240. I think with my gut feeling on market, I think I even gave you those numbers. And I didn't even look at the house. I just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You call me offline. I'm gonna give you some other options, but if you got an offer at 214, you're wasting your time. Let's just skip it.
Yeah.
Move on. Any other scenarios, you guys? It's 6 after. We can cover one more real quick. Or we can talk. I only have one open house right now. It's the one in Dallas in Parlay. It's 455,000. It's just a big house. I think I shared with it earlier that I was running in that RPR example. No, nothing else. We'll talk about reviews next week. All of you have input on it. I think all of you need to be building your reviews if you want to build, some place for people to substantiate or qualify you. That's a great place that they can go and look. Be looking at building that. And then I will give you a lot of thoughts on how to do that and where to go and where to get, links and stuff or things like that. So anyway, that's all I got for this week. Everyone have a high performance week, and let me know if you need anything for me to help you with. And I appreciate you guys.
Thanks.